So maybe this is a good point to start or announce our first panel, and which is actually on the topic of an EU framework for the social and professional situations of artists and workers in the cultural creative sector. And we have here with us today the representatives of the European Parliament, European Commission, and the OMC Group. And I would like to invite them to come to join me here on the stage. We have Mr. Dominic Ruiz de Vesa and Mr. Tuan Manders, members of the European Parliament, Mr. Georg Häusler from the DG EAC, Mr. Denis Janton from the DG Employment, and Ms. Heidi Meisnitzer, the former co-chair of the OMC Working Group on Status and Working Conditions of the Artist. I will be sitting here, so feel free to...
You will be sitting here?
I will be sitting here. So I hope the microphone is working. Perfect. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us for this really important debate. So we would start maybe, well, chronologically, at least in terms of the most recent developments. And I would like to first start with Ms. Meisnitzer. The OMC report was issued in June last year, so almost 1 year ago. Looking from this time perspective, what are your impressions? What has been the impact of the report? Have there been any concrete actions, any inspiration among member states, any examples that you could give us on what you personally at least perceive as the outcome and impact of the report?
Thank you, and good afternoon to everybody. And it's a very nice question. Congratulations to the Belgian presidency for organizing this seminar. And thank you for the opportunity to look back on here and what has happened, because there is a lot of positive developments. First, I will remind that the 27 member states were engaged. That's also something very important. And they were engaged with a very good spirit. We have been incredibly supported by the European Commission, by the director of Georg Häusler, and also on Kathrin's Magnan unit level, and also Barbara Stacher. That was something very, very important. I'm very happy that what we have concluded and outcomes I can see has been put into place, because it's a long-term process. It needs transversal collaboration across the policy sectors, involving the stakeholders, be in contact with the social dialogue partners. That's everything. That's all what has happened. At the council level, we succeeded to anchor this topic also again in the work plan. So the topic remain on the political agendas certainly until 26, and I'm very optimistic also afterwards. Another important outcome, and a very concrete outcome, is the online platform, which is now implemented and operational on the Creative United platform. And it's also an ongoing process. It was initiated by the co-chair, Tommy Dennett. He's also here from Ireland. He did a great job, and then it was further developed. And it's now within the Flip. So it's really a follow-up, and and shows sustainability on the topic. We had a very interesting debate during the Spanish presidency. It was devoted to the working conditions. So all the ministers discussed it. It's really the highest political level confirmation how important the topic is. And as we had also in our report a recommendation on a new framework, I have to admit there was a little bit hesitation, but there we can see there is an openness. Yeah. And as the topic is in the work plan, yesterday there was a thematic seminar. It was very interesting. Congratulations to the Commission, And we saw also that there is concrete developments on the member states level. We will hear later about the basic income. It will be very interesting how further it developed. In Austria, we have the fairness process. Very good developments. The Secretary of State succeeded to get more money. She over 40%, the last 4 years, the cultural budget was increased. It's due, of course, to the pandemic, but she really succeeded. And a part of this money is dedicated to close the fair pay gap on the basis of a fair pay study. That's also a very good developments. And then I'm very pleased to inform you that our report and our policy recommendation generated international interest. The UNESCO in Santiago de Chile and the Cultural Ministry in Chile were interested in our outcomes and our policy recommendations. And as big the difference might be between Europe and Latin America, there are comments concerning the challenges. And I handed over the report to the Chilean culture minister, and they had bilateral talks then, and I really got the feedback that's a source of inspiration. And then another very positive is, of course, the initiative from the European Parliament and the response from the Commission, so it's very positive.
Thank you very much, Heidi, and it's really a great intro into the next question. So, as we know, in November, the European Parliament brought a very important resolution on an EU framework for the social and professional situation of artists and workers in the culture creative sectors, of which you, Mr. Devesa and Mr. Mendes were co-rapporteurs for your respective committees. So I would like to now ask you, first, Mr. Devesa, you have spoken strongly of the importance of tackling the inherent systemic challenges, which are the underlying cause of the current situation, the precarity of the artists. So could you tell us maybe from your perspective, which are the key points that you think should be taken up, let's say, first to be on the agenda if possible?
Well, thanks a lot, obviously, to you, Dubravka, and to the Belgian presidency for this very timely seminar, no? Because it also shows the importance, the political importance that the presidency is giving to this topic. And I think it's very good that we have the council represented, but also my good friend, the other co-rapporteur, and the commission, the two departments that are more relevant to this topic, employment and culture. And I think maybe just for, by the way, I'm very happy to see so many people in attendance and interested in this topic also. But for efficiency, I'm not going to get, I think, into the diagnosis of the problem now, which I think we know the question of the false self-employment, the problem of the discontinuity on employment, cotization, or for pensions calculations, and so on. So basically, what we have done in this report, which, by the way, was supported by 5 political groups in the European Parliament, right, out of 7. It got many votes in favor, almost 500 votes in favor in the plenary of the European Parliament. So we are asking for decisive action on the side of the Commission, particularly on the question of addressing the heterogeneity of models that we have in the European Union, sometimes even the lack of models in some countries. The issue of, as I mentioned, to tackle these unpleasant situations in the sector, the issue of the buyout contracts, even though we are aware this is mostly connected to the implementation of the Copyright Directive, but still this is something that everyone has in their minds. Then the question of social conditionality, which we know has also been highlighted, and there I think this is something that is coming up after the report, how to implement this point, we could do it, I think, in a pragmatic way. It could be a declaration on honor, for instance, ex ante. That can be, controlled, ex post, but something not that doesn't create an excessive burden, that is not excessively bureaucratic, but that has an impact. And then the third point, of course, and with that, I think I can summarize it for now, because there will be opportunity, for a second round, yes, is that we think we need a legislative proposal coming from the Commission. It could be a directive. We could have also a decision that is directed to member states mainly. We are also open, because we understand the difficulties, thinking of the legal base in particular. I guess, Georg, you will elaborate on that later. But of course, we can start with a recommendation. We can start with the social dialogue. We can start with the guidelines, right? But then we can build up on that. And I have to say, and this with this I promise I finish, I do welcome the reply from the Commission. I have to say it here, Georg and Dennis, because you could have been, and of course as Parliament we always ask for more and better, but it's true that you could have been much more limited in your response, more bureaucratic in your answer, and at least my reading of the reply that you have provided is that you don't exclude ab initio any possibility. So I think this is very positive and forthcoming, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. I now move on to Mr. Manders to also hear your perspective on this question from the viewpoint of a former artist turned lawyer turned policymaker. What is your take also on the Commission response and in general on the process for this resolution?
Well, thank you for having me here, and good to know that the energy is much cheaper in Belgium than in the Netherlands, because we are heating the room quite well. Thank you for that too. Well, let me say I was very happy to work together in the Parliament on this report together with Dominic. He's my only friend nowadays, and we had a balanced approach. Dominic was facing on how to improve the working conditions of artists, and I had a broader aspect. I think we have to put the cultural and creative sector on a higher level. We have to convince politicians and actually the whole society that we need this sector to guarantee our future, because the culture and social sector are the storytellers. A music is telling a story, a painting is telling a story, a building is telling a story, a sculpture is telling a story. And what we do nowadays, we consider it as a luxury good, and we only pay if it is necessary. We see it as a burden, because a museum costs money, a movie costs money, and it's all based on money driven. And I think our future is much more than only money, and that's why I ask you in our conversation before, I said I'm 50 years together with my wife already, and do you know why? And then people are always saying, because I love her. And what we have to do, if our relation was only based on money and economics relation, then I might have been divorced from her already years ago. But we created also a love for each other. And that's why we are still together and we still love each other. And that's nice to know. And what I see in Europe is that we are losing the support of the people because we are not connected. We don't see the added value of the EU. We don't see, let's say, a connection due to culture and the creative sector. And we need them to improve this connection, that all people in Europe feel connected as European, and that they can say, I'm proud to be European. I'm proud to be Belgium, I'm proud to be Dutch, but I'm also proud to be European. And for this reason, we need it to guarantee our future. And we can do that via sports, via culture, via music, There are several possibilities, and if you give these proposals, these ideas in a political arena like the European Parliament, then you are not considered to be serious, because you have to talk about climate change, we have to talk about geopolitical aspects, but we are not talking about our real future. That's connecting the people in Europe. And I think that the cultural and creative sector can be the most important sector to achieve this, and that's why if we convince a politician and the staff and the administration, then we will pay them better, because then we see the added value, we pay them better, we organize it better, and then, we appreciate the whole sector better. And I think that's the most important message in the report. And the answer of the Commission, it was rather positive, by the way, but I hope that the outcome will be positive too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manders, for reminding us of the intrinsic value of culture for the European Union as a main basis. And now I'm finally coming to the European Commission. They already mentioned response that came very recently to the European Parliament's resolution. And in this document, the European Commission welcomes the Parliament's resolution, shares its concern over the working conditions of artists and workers in the CCS, and confirms its intent to kick off work in this area. So let's talk about this work that we're going to kick off, starting with Monsieur Genton and DG Employment. The first initiative which is mentioned in this response document is focused on identifying regulatory gaps and which require further follow-up, as well as ensuring that the rules which are already in place are in fact implemented. Could you tell us a little bit about the Commission plans, when we can expect really the first steps? We know it's a tricky period because the new Commission is, to be expected only in the fall, but I'm sure everyone here is interested to know what we can really expect, how to proceed with what has been promised.
Thank you for the question, thank you for the invitation. So I'm indeed a Commission official. I work in DG Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, and I am as well a father of 3 children. So I will tell you, on Monday evening, and this is a true story, so I have my son who just finished university. He has already been working, and he is now in the kind of transition period looking for a job. And then it's a bit difficult for him because he is an artist as well. Here in Belgium, he has the special card. He's a DJ, but he could work as well in an office. So he's at this time of his life where he has to make some choices. And of course, I will support him, whatever choice he will do. But on Monday evening, he started the discussion at the dinner where the problem is that we need a European status for artists. I hadn't mentioned anything about. Yes, sometimes I speak about my work, but I hadn't mentioned that file. So I will tell you what I told him, my reply to him. Very interesting topic, quite complex. The reality is that, we receive in DG Employment many complaints. We have received complaints from about this topic, but not that many. So from this point of view, thanks for your report. July 2023. Thanks for your report as well, because for us it's interesting, of course, information, and it enriches what we do. So what we do in DG Employment, indeed, we work on policy, legislation, and we have funds as well. But here I will only mention the legislative part, and we have indeed directives, regulations, decisions on labor law, on health and safety at work, on free movement of workers, we have a directive on minimum wage, and all this legislation applies. We have as well social security coordination. I forgot that, and all this legislation applies to all workers. So be them artists or working on the ground as in the construction field, for instance, and so on. So we have this legislation for all workers. Now we know that some of the workers are more fragile than others. This we know. We had, for instance, during COVID time, guidelines on seasonal workers. We did so because there were some issues there. So from this point, so this is what we have. So we have rules for all workers. Now, the good news here is that when it comes to enforcement, we are there, but we are not alone. We have our counterparts from the member states. We have counterparts as well, or stakeholders from the social partners. We talk a lot to them. So we have committees with them, sometimes both of them. So we have the SLIC for health and safety. We have the advisory committee on free movement of workers. We have the social protection committee. And we have as well agencies, such as the European Labour Authority, where we have, of course, colleagues from the member states, but we have as well social partners there. We have EU OSHA. It's a tripartite agency, so we have member states and in the management board and representative of the social partners as well. And we have as well a kind of dynamic with that we call the social dialogue committees, where we have as well a lot of discussions. So there, once we have read the report, the other report, we have committed to mobilize all this. So we are now in the process of discussing artist working conditions with all these committees or entities. So this week I had a discussion with my son, but this doesn't qualify, but there was a discussion in the European Labour Authority. There was yesterday, I think, a meeting as well in the OMC where you discuss, there is this today, so the momentum is there. And by the way, it's not because that we are at the end of a process that it will stop. No, we have committed to work on it, and we will continue to work on it. Of course, we have a rendezvous. There will be others, and maybe my colleague from DG ACT will tell you a bit more about this. We have the roundtable that will happen in the second semester, so this will be another opportunity to discuss it. The idea is to prepare a document. We called it supportive document, so we are working on all this. So voilà, so I don't want to give the impression, and this is not the case, that I am on the defensive, that, you know, tout va très bien, Madame la Marquise. I'm not telling you either that we will have adopt a regulation or a directive on the status for artists. We are not there yet. I cannot tell you that. So for the time being, we are in this kind of intense mapping exercise, mobilizing all the different committees that we have, and let's see what will happen. But today it's difficult for me to tell you more about that.
Thank you, Monsieur Janton. I think we are all happy to hear that you have personal interest in making sure the artists are treated well. And maybe that's a part of the solution, making sure that all of the policymakers have a member of the family from the sector. And that way, the process might go quicker. So now we go to Mr. Sorry?
You should bring your son with you.
Yes, and please bring him next time here. Mr. Häusler, now we go to DG EAC. As Heidi already mentioned, the CAC has also worked in the Council on the work plan for culture, where the working conditions are prominently made. But in the new European Agenda for Culture, which was adopted before the corona pandemic, it is mentioned, but maybe not as a priority point. So both the Parliament has called for making changes and bringing a kind of, let's say, a new EU strategic framework for culture, where this point will be high on the agenda, and that's one of the points promised in the Commission's response. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about this, how I think the sector is also especially interested, how they can be involved.
I think actually most of it has been said already, but just to try to kind of wrap it up a little bit, I think first of all what is important, and this is not a little thing, and my colleague from employment mentioned it, the problem has arrived at the gates of policy. You have here representatives of the Council, you have representatives of the Parliament and the Commission, and we all agree that there is something which needs to be done, and that's not a little thing. So I think we should really be fully aware of that. Now, there is a bit of a difficult timing, and you mentioned that as well, because we are in a transitional period. We will have a new parliament in a few weeks' time. We will have a new commission in a few months' time. But here also, I think, just as a principal comment, the Commission has committed to follow this up. The Commission having the right of initiative to do something, so that's the important step. And the Commission is a continuum. So even if there are new commissioners and there's a new college, they are committed by what has been said and promised to the European Parliament, to the legislator. So I think it's a good basis. We shouldn't be too worried about what is coming next and who is coming next and will they have the same commitment and the same motivation. It's kind of a bit graved in stone already, and I think that's a good thing. What is also important, and we repeat this message, I think my colleague from employment kind of hinted a little bit at it. If you do not complain in this place, you are not listened to. And now you have been listened to, the artists and the creative sectors of Europe. They have commonly made the point that something needs to be done, and this has been heard, but again, keep up the pressure. Don't forget about it, and don't think it's now done, because obviously now we have all good intentions, and all the political actors have good intentions, but now we need to translate this into something concrete. And as Denis was explaining, it's not that easy because of issues of competence, because of different responsibilities within the different services, because also of precedents which you have in other sectors, etc. So it's not that easy to do something about it. Now, what will be key in the future debates is, and Denis just mentioned it, are those roundtables. So the roundtables which are going to be the structured dialogue with the stakeholders, because we Commission need to know what's really going on, and it's only the stakeholders who can really have this dialogue and entertain this dialogue with the Commission. That is very important. I think you, Dubravka, you are actually well placed because you animate the platform on working conditions, how we work, and that's a very good example of, you know, how we can get fresh ideas and the right ideas, but also identify the problems which can be addressed, because that's also important. Not all problems of artists will be solved by a statute for an artist. Or by a legislation. So I think we also need to be realistic about that. You're not going to, I shouldn't say that, but we all know that artists is a precarious business. So there are very few people who make a living out of it, and this is not only because of the status of the artist. There are many other factors, and we need to be aware of that. We try to improve all of them, but we need to be aware of it. It's not going to be a one-solves-all solution which we can offer.
Thank you very much. You were able to, at the same time, reassure us, but also put us kind of our expectations to be realistic. I would now, we have maybe just a few minutes to go for a second round, so I would really like you to be to the point so that we can give the opportunity also to the members of the audience to ask a few questions. So Heidi, just a short question. In its response, the Commission also mentioned again that the yearly meetings between the member states will be continued, like the one that was held yesterday that you've mentioned. Also to say that the Spanish Council presidency has really put this topic high on the agenda, and now this has been continued also with the Belgian presidency. How important do you see this moment of exchanging between member states, and is it something really that should be always continued?
Thank you also for this very good and important question. I see a big need. Even I can be so positive, and the progress have mentioned by everyone, and a bit more reluctance from the social sector. The Commission is far from completed, was also mentioned, but we are on the right track. And for me, the composition of this panel is unique. I mean, there are all three institutions on a very high level. The Commission committed itself in the response to the European Parliament. I was a bit worried, I have to say, that this momentum is lost or could be lost with the transition of a new European Parliament and also with the Commission. So there is an invitation to myself, to everybody, and especially also to the audience and to all the policymakers and the experts and stakeholders that we have to continue our work. And the next important is also that it's in the mandate of the Commission. In the new Commission, we have to see that there is this topic in. But I see, I'm very positive, and this panel shows that we are on the right track.
Thank you very much. Now going to the European Parliament, to Mr. Ruiz de Veza and Mr. Manders. Also, very quickly, please. You have mentioned, Mr. de Veza, that this resolution has been supported by 5 political groups. And this is just something that we wanted to ask in terms of the next, Parliamentary Assembly, what we can expect, that this is really a cross-cutting issue which goes beyond simple political boundaries, and can we assure continuity that the new parliament will also set aside the political division and that we will work across different parties to continue and bring this topic forward?
That's a very prospective question, no? The kind of crystal ball kind of question, no? And very political, more than policy, no, if you want, because of course, yes, we were able to have alongside Tom Manders that brought along the EPP group. I was representing the Social Democrats, the Greens, the Liberals, also the left were supporting, but when you go more to the right of the parliament, ECR and ID were not very fond of the report, no? To the extent that these 2 groups could increase in size, that will not be necessarily a good, I think, good news for this topic at least. Having said that, I will be also optimistic in the same vein as Georg Häusler before, because, as he said, there is continuity, in a way, built-in continuity, if we can call it that way, because the parliament position has already been settled, and it's not that we have to renew it every term, no? Unless there is a need for another report, which I don't think it's the case, because now it's in the plate of the Commission to propose actions. And in that regard, just to add that there has been, you may be aware, a pan-European survey asking cultural and creative workers about working conditions, and we can see that the conclusions align very well with the Parliament's report. We have 90% that indicate the need for EU legislation to address the working conditions of artists and creative professionals, 96% supporting the adoption of European status for artists and CCS professionals, because Georg, you said this is not that the difficult life of artists is not only because we lack the statute, but that would be a very good thing to have. There will be a lot of progress, and you see that we have percentages of support and consensus that you don't find very easily in other proposals or in other topics.
Can I ask Mr. Manders if you would like to add anything?
Yes, and I like of course, I understand the words of Georg, and that the statute doesn't change the life of artists. I myself had my experience. I was a sculptor, and I produced a lot of work, but nobody wanted to buy it. And then I have to thought. I was thinking about another way of filling in my work, and then I started to become an industrial designer. And then suddenly everybody wanted to buy my work. So sometimes as an artist, you have to be a kind of an entrepreneur. In our report, and that's what I hope in the next mandate, in our report, and that was based on that actually the cultural and creative sector should actually explain the history in their works and also the connection between Europeans. We ask for a kind of a contest for sing-along songs, because people like to sing together, that is connecting. And we should actually then skip the Eurovision Song Contest, because that's a political institute. They even banned the European flag, which is really crazy. And that's organized, and we call it Eurovision Song Contest. And the organizer is based in Switzerland. And if you pay money, then even Australia can join. So I think, and we asked for this, we asked the Commission to make an assessment if it is feasible and possible to organize an EU contest that only, let's say, artists from the EU countries can join, and not that the whole world can join, because we are a continent and we are based on, let's say, values and principles, and we have to, let's say, to bring that out, that people are understanding this, and then we are more connected. And I hope to have an answer soon from the Commission on this specific question and proposal that is in the report. And perhaps Georg or Dennis can react. Thank you.
Well, as someone who is originally coming from Serbia, I would have to ask you to at least slightly expand this area of scope. Okay, thank you. Okay, final question for the Commission before we give the word to the audience. One of the things requested was also social conditionality in the budgets, in the projects. And some parts of the sector have raised a valid point that, of course, giving more money means that there could be less projects. Paying fair pays to the artists and those involved means that the current budgets we have and also the level of production we are doing will not be feasible, especially considering the other conditions such as sustainability, for instance, which also needs to be taken into consideration. Longer travels, longer productions, and so on. What is your take on this? Is there room to increase the budget, or do we have to decrease the number of projects, work less, produce less?
Okay, the budget authority is there. They are the one deciding on the budget together with the council. But the social conditionality, so maybe Georg from his past knows a lot about it, because this is something that was discussed for the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy. But at the same time, I mean, once you have a legal framework in place, then, I mean, you have no choice but to meet the rules. So if you have social rules, then you have to respect them. So this is why it is important indeed for the time being to focus on enforcement, and this is part of the gap analysis that we are doing. In a way, this is what we're doing today. So first to see if the rules they are properly implemented, enforced, and see if there are rules missing as well. And here maybe coming back to the very first question and what I said, it's not because we are not only organizing meetings, you know, with the member states, the social partners, and discussing with them. We have engaged, or we have committed to engage more dynamic interactions with them. For instance, through mutual learning programs. So this will be done through under the responsibility of different committees. So this is where we are today. So we have read the report. Obviously, we replied. And we are now committed to see, well, to better understand the magnitude of the problems, if there are many, since there are many.
Do you want me to say something to the money as well? Now, the budget, yes, obviously this is not in our hands, and the Commission has officially no position on the budget, because we are the ones who accept what the budgetary authorities, Council and Parliament decide. I think the budget for Creative Europe is something which has grown last time substantially. I hope we again have support this time from Parliament and the Council that this is going in the same direction. But again, we know that the budget we have is a relatively limited, it's more a symbolic budget. Even if it's 2.4 billion euros, it's not going to change the fate of any artist. I believe we are doing a lot with this relatively little money to give a lot of artists and people who are creative the possibility to benefit from Europe, and from Europe in a larger sense, not only European Union. You know, we have Creative Europe has 40 member states. I think we are doing quite a lot. Just to name the Culture Moves Europe, where thousands of young people can benefit as artists from relatively little money. And I think we have a very good case to tell when it comes to the budget negotiations, but we all know we are living in difficult times. And just to the song contest, just for the anecdote, Toine doesn't miss any opportunity. Every time I cross him somewhere, he speaks about that, so it's surely not forgotten. But it's an interesting idea to be discussed further.
Thank you.
That's not being serious. That's the problem, because people are laughing too. And we miss the future.
Thank you all very much, and I would like to use the chance now with the remaining time to see if there are any questions from the audience. I see a few hands here. The colleagues are here with the microphone. I think here in the second row there was a question first.
Hello, my name is Kate Main. I work for SOFAM Authors' Rights for Visual Artists in Belgium. I'm also a painter and a writer. And while I was sitting here listening to you speak, my heart rate went up. And I just want to say thank you for noticing and recognizing artists. And thank you for valuing what we do. And please keep going, and I hope you manage to establish continuity.
We need you.
Yes, and as for art, the value of art for Europe, it really is the future. Also in a geopolitical sense, I completely agree with what you say, because all the talent we have here is going to enable us to make things happen which are beyond what we can dream of now, for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So for this really emotional comment, I think everyone appreciates to hear appreciation for the work. I'm really sorry because of the light. I cannot really see the hands well, so I'm trusting the team to give it whoever has raised their hand next. I will kindly ask you to introduce yourself quickly and then be to the point, because we have little time and try to cover as many questions as we can. So please go ahead.
Yes, hello, thanks. So my name is Thomas Fouchot. I'm the president of Artist League in France, and I can only second what has been said before, because I'm also an artist, as a writer. And all the words that our national politicians have failed to see and to acknowledge all these years have for once been in your reports and your answers. And for this also, thank you very much, because we live in troubled times for artists with difficult working conditions, often unpaid work, let's be clear, and we're expecting a lot from you now. So you have raised our hopes, and now we can only ask, when will our conditions be better? So when can we expect to have some policies or guidelines or rules coming from your work now?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really wonderful to see the members of the audience really coming from the cultural creative professionals, and not just saying that we preach to the choir and have just the same people all over. So it's really good to see really professionals here. Maybe we take one more question. I think it's, yes.
Hello, my name is Katrien Rijst. I'm a coordinator of State of the Arts, among a lot of other jobs that I manage in this sector. Again, I can only plus what is said, yet the last speaker said it. I mean, the budget is very essential, and what strikes me a little bit in the way you speak about it is that there is so much need, and all the reports say that we can only support that, and yet you speak about, yes, there is money where the artist can benefit from. And there's always this tension between whose responsibility are we talking about? If there's money at stake, we can benefit. It's our social benefit. Yet there's also a responsibility to keep us going. So it's not about us benefiting from the little crux or rests that are staying. It is the responsibility of society, of you, of all of us, to raise those budgets to normal levels, and to really put your mouth where it is, because with the money that is there, it is impossible to create all that is promised now. So that's.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Come with your tractors to Brussels, then it will work.
Yeah, okay.
I just say, come with your tractors to Brussels, that will work.
Unfortunately, yes, unfortunately, artists don't have tractors to block the streets of Brussels, but we will find other creative solutions for disruption. Don't give us too many ideas. Heidi, you wanted to
I wanted briefly to respond, and also what Mr. Häusler said. It's not only, I mean, the Creative Europe program is very essential, but it's not the only program. And I learned this this morning in another discussion, or I heard it because it's quite well known, that out of Creative Europe, the leverage effect is 10 millions, but in the cohesion funds, there's a lot of money, and it's used for the cultural sector. And what we need is a very good narrative for the cultural sector. It was mentioned here already, and so we have to work and continue to have it, and to be as strong as possible in the negotiations, budgetary processes. And they will start quite soon.
So since we are running out of time, are there any last words that you would like to respond to the audience, messages that you would like to send?
Just one sentence about sports, culture and music. It's a question about the future of Europe, I said, and thank you for your kind words, by the way. We agree completely. I can buy a coffee for you afterwards if you want. No, I have a question about the Brexit. Do you think, because I'm advocating for years already to have an EU competition on football too, because that's entertainment too. Do you think that the Brits will have voted for the Brexit if that means that the British clubs cannot join the European Champions League anymore? That's a simple question. And it's the same with music, it's the same with arts. So this connection we have to invest in, and we are not only a money-making EU.
How to continue after that? Football is definitely the, the first most less important thing in the world. There is a saying. But okay, with this, I think we have to wrap up the session. I would like to thank you very much for your input and discussion. As you saw, I think we've inspired quite a lot of people, and I hope this really great words from the sector gives you motivation to keep on going and continue your work. So we hope to see you in the second half of the year with the new commission to see, to put a little bit of pressure what can be done then. Thank you very much. I ask you now to leave the stage. Thank you.